Forget compost because earthworms respond faster to very specific food signals in the soil. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to the Evergreen Garden channel and leave a comment sharing where you garden from and what crops you grow, because this channel is built for serious gardeners who want real soil results, not theory. Today we are going straight into practical soil biology that works fast. Compost is valuable, but it is slow. If your goal is to pull thousands of earthworms into your soil within days rather than months, compost is not the first tool you should reach for. Earthworms respond to very specific smells, moisture levels, and microbial activity, and when you give them exactly what they are wired to seek, they move fast. Fresh plant residues rich in sugars create an immediate earthworm feeding zone. The first thing that attracts earthworms in massive numbers is fresh, soft plant material that is high in sugars and water content. This includes watermelon rinds, pumpkin scraps, overripe bananas, pawpaw peels, squash trimmings, and similar plant residues. What matters here is not decay, but freshness. Earthworms are not chasing rot, they are chasing microbial explosions. When fresh plant material touches moist soil, bacteria multiply rapidly, and earthworms follow the bacteria, not the plant itself. To use this effectively in the garden, take fresh plant scraps and chop them into pieces no thicker than 2 to 3 centimeters. Thickness matters because earthworms feed near the surface and rely on oxygen. Spread the material directly on bare soil or lightly scratch it into the top 2 centimeters. For every square meter of garden bed, 1 to 2 kilograms of fresh plant residue is enough. More than that can create anaerobic conditions which repel worms instead of attracting them. Water the area immediately after application until the soil is moist but not muddy. Within 3 to 5 days in warm conditions, you will begin to see earthworm castings forming on the surface, and if you gently lift the residue, you will often see dozens of worms clustered underneath. In cooler weather, this process may take 7 to 10 days, but it still works. A practical example is a vegetable bed after harvest. Instead of adding compost and waiting months, lay chopped watermelon rind or pumpkin waste across the bed, water it, and cover lightly with grass clippings or dry leaves to retain moisture. In less than a week, the soil becomes biologically active, worm tunnels increase, and soil structure improves rapidly. The second thing that pulls earthworms from far beyond your garden bed is nitrogen-rich organic matter that releases ammonia in very small, controlled amounts. Earthworms are extremely sensitive to nitrogen signals in the soil, especially when paired with moisture. Materials such as aged chicken manure, rabbit manure, goat manure, or soaked legume residues are especially effective. The key here is dilution and placement. Raw manure spread thickly will burn soil life and repel worms. Instead, mix 1 part aged manure with 3 parts moist soil or leaf mold. For example, 1 bucket of aged chicken manure mixed with 3 buckets of garden soil creates a worm-attracting layer without toxicity. Spread this mixture in a band or patch rather than across the entire bed. Earthworms detect nutrient gradients and will migrate toward concentrated zones. After applying, water thoroughly and keep the area moist for at least 4 days. Moisture is non-negotiable. Dry nitrogen repels worms, while damp nitrogen draws them in. When done correctly, worms will move upward and inward from deeper soil layers, sometimes traveling several meters to reach the food source. A powerful method is trench feeding. Dig a shallow trench about 10 centimeters deep between crop rows. Apply the diluted manure mixture, cover it with soil and water well. Within a week, the trench becomes a worm highway, improving nutrient cycling and root access for nearby crops. When fresh plant residues and diluted nitrogen-rich matter are used together, the results are exponential. The plant material fuels bacterial growth, while nitrogen accelerates microbial reproduction. Earthworms thrive where microbes explode. A simple ratio that works extremely well is 2 parts fresh plant residue to 1 part diluted manure mix by volume. Apply the plant material first, then add a thin layer of the manure-soil blend on top and lightly cover with soil or mulch. This layered approach mimics natural forest floors, where worms are most abundant. In active gardens, this method can double visible earthworm populations in less than 10 days. So let's talk about why compost tends to work a bit more slowly, while this method, well, it kicks in almost immediately. Compost, you see, is already stabilized organic matter. Its nutrients are actually locked into these complex forms that release quite slowly over time. Now, earthworms will certainly use compost, but it doesn't really trigger that urgent feeding response that fresh inputs do. What you're doing with these two materials is essentially creating a microbial feeding frenzy that earthworms simply cannot ignore. And remember, this isn't about replacing compost forever. It's about knowing when exactly speed really matters. For gardeners who are rebuilding dead soil, preparing beds before planting, or maybe just trying to revive compacted ground, this approach genuinely jump-starts soil life faster than any bagged input or, honestly, any long compost cycle. Over-application is the fastest way to fail. Too much fresh material suffocates soil, and too much nitrogen burns microbes. Always keep layers thin and moisture-balanced. If the soil smells sour or rotten, you have gone anaerobic and need to pull material back and let oxygen in. Earthworms only thrive where oxygen, moisture, and microbes coexist. Timing also matters. Apply in the evening or early morning when soil temperatures are stable. In extreme heat, cover applications with mulch to prevent drying. In heavy rain seasons, ensure drainage so worms are not drowned. This is how you turn your garden into a self-feeding soil system. Once earthworms establish in large numbers, they maintain soil fertility for you. Their castings improve nutrient availability, their tunnels increase water infiltration, and their constant movement mixes organic matter deep into the soil. This reduces fertilizer needs, improves plant resilience, and builds soil that improves every season instead of degrading. If this guide helped you understand soil biology in a practical way, subscribe to Evergreen Garden, share this with another gardener who still thinks compost is the only answer, and leave a comment below telling me what organic materials you have available locally. That conversation helps everyone grow better soil faster.